Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Noah and welcome back to NR Percussion. Today we're going to be taking a look at the equipment that I use to compose music and what type of equipment you might need to start writing music of your own. Alright, let's get started. First things first, some key components that you're going to need to start writing music on your own would be a laptop or a computer and software to write music with. In reality, that's all you need to get started. As long as you have a laptop or even a Chromebook, there are tons of resources out there now that help you to write music on your own for free, which is great because some of the stuff that might help you to get better quality or better sounding music gets pretty pricey. Now, even though you don't need much to get started, let's say you want to get serious and you want to spend some money. Well then, let's just take a look at some of the equipment that I use. I'm also going to leave some timestamps below if you want to skip to a certain part of the video where I cover a specific type of equipment. Since I'm a percussionist, I actually don't have to use a lot of equipment compared to other types of artists. One of the most essential items that I use every time I compose would be a keyboard. No, not one of these. One of these. When I'm composing music, I find it super helpful to be able to play out different melodies and musical motifs on my keyboard before I write it down in my software. There are plenty of options out there for all budgets, with this one here being a full-size 88-key keyboard, but this is on the more expensive end of keyboards. Before I had this, I was using this keyboard right here. This is a 49-key MIDI keyboard, and it comes in a lot cheaper than something like this. Another important aspect of a keyboard that you might want to consider would be whether or not it has MIDI compatibility. For me, I use lots of different synthesizers and third-party applications to get different sounds into my music. Being able to test out what those sounds might actually sound like is especially crucial for when I'm writing out music to make sure that everything fits together like it should. I'm also going to leave all of the things that I've mentioned in this video in the description below in case you want to maybe buy it yourself. Just a quick side note, if you do have any other type of keyboard instruments like a marimba or something at your house, then all the power to you. I highly recommend that you use those, especially for the parts that you're writing. That way you can get a more accurate representation of what it might actually sound like or what it might be like to play on that instrument. Of course, I don't have any of those at my house, and I don't suppose a lot of you do either at your houses. So I would just recommend sticking to whatever you can get or whatever you can use. Alright, for the next piece of equipment that I'm going to cover in this video, it's going to be for the other aspect of writing percussion music, that being writing drum parts or writing drumline parts. And for this, I of course recommend getting yourself a drum pad. Drum pads are super useful for not only writing music, but just becoming a better percussionist yourself. Having a drum pad is essential for nearly any percussionist, mainly because it's pretty easy to acquire and it helps you to become a better percussionist and hone in your skills. Drum pads are super easy to come by, and they can range in price anything from $15 to $100 depending on how much you want to spend. For a lot of people, their schools might even have some of their own which you can ask to borrow and use. Even if you don't have the budget for an actual drum pad, you can go and there are tons of DIY projects to make your own drum pad for nearly no cost. It should be pretty easy to get yourself a pad, and it is extremely helpful for writing out drumline parts. For me, I'm a keyboard player and I have nearly no experience actually playing drumline instruments, but I still use a pad and I still practice on it because that way, when I'm writing out music for drumline parts, having some experience, at least playing some of the parts, is really crucial to making sure that your parts are actually playable, that they're realistic, and that they sound good. Before I started using a drum pad, I had nearly no experience drumming, and I only had experience with my keyboard instruments. Of course, once I got this, I was really able to hone in my skills, and I became a much better percussionist because of it. I'm able to play more types of instruments, and I have a much wider variety of instruments that I'm able to play. So I really recommend that if you're a percussionist, even if you have no experience drumming at all, I would definitely recommend getting a drum pad and practicing on it a little bit, especially if you want to write music. The next thing I want to cover would be some computer peripherals. The first thing I would recommend is to get a laptop computer. Having a laptop is super convenient and it's easy to use nearly anywhere. I think that a laptop is perfect for music composition because you don't really need this big beefy computer that can run all these high-end things because music notation software isn't super tasking on your computer. And once again, it's also just super portable, it's super easy to bring nearly anywhere, and especially for students, it's really great to bring to school. The only other thing that I would really recommend would be to get a wireless mouse. Having a wireless mouse is super easy because, once again, like a laptop, you can bring it nearly anywhere, and it's a lot easier to lug around than a corded mouse. And honestly, using a trackpad on your laptop is pretty terrible for writing music, so I would definitely use a mouse, even if it's not wireless. For my setup, I also have some cheap external speakers, headphones, a monitor, and a keyboard. I mainly use these because I like my setup to almost feel like I am at a workstation, but I am still using my laptop. Having the monitor is super helpful for me because with my laptop, it has a pretty small screen, and having nearly double the screen size on my monitor gives me a lot more to work with, and it makes my workflow a lot quicker and easier. Using multiple different types of speakers or headphones is also really crucial for music composition because you want to make sure that your music sounds good no matter what type of speakers coming out of, whether that be external speakers from a laptop or headphones that you might use or even earbuds. I like to use both headphones and speakers because I want to make sure that with my music, no matter what it's coming out of, whether that be speakers, headphones, a phone speaker, or earbuds, I want to make sure that my music still sounds good no matter what it's coming out of, and sometimes it takes a little bit of tweaking. So I would also recommend trying to use different types of speakers and making sure that your music sounds good no matter what it's coming out of. The final piece of equipment that you should have for your setup would of course have to be the notation software. There are tons of different options out there for whatever type of situation you're in, whatever your budget is. The first type of application I'm going to talk about is going to be browser-based application, which will be accessible through any type of browser as long as you have internet. The most notable of these would have to be Noteflight and Flat.io. Flat.io is a super simple and easy to access piece of software that is mainly geared towards new musicians and is often used as a teaching tool. It's really great for starting off, but I wouldn't use it for any more than that, mainly due to the restrictions that it has around its features. It's a step up from Flat.io and has a more professional setting. It has more features than Flat.io and is better optimized for the browser. It's a really great piece of software, especially for being browser-based, but the only setback is that most of the features are unfortunately locked behind a paywall. In order to get the fullest out of Noteflight, you're gonna have to spend some money. It has different types of payments, which I really like, which include a subscription that's monthly, a subscription that's yearly, or you can just straight up buy the software for around $300. That's a pretty hefty price, especially for notation software, and honestly, I can't really recommend it. For being so expensive, I don't really think that it's worth it, especially for percussionists. It doesn't have a lot of great percussion features, and it's not especially optimized for percussionists. It's more meant for other type of music writing. Another huge setback of it too is that its playback is pretty terrible. Overall, I wouldn't really recommend this, especially for percussionists, due to the lack of percussion optimization, the price, and overall, I don't think it's the best software unless you really wanting to go browser-based. The next section I'm going to be covering is going to be desktop-based applications, and this is really where you can start getting serious about your music writing. Musescore is hands down one of the best music softwares out there. It's super easy to use, it has a pretty good drumline extension, and the best part, it's completely free. For what it's offering, this is one of the best deals, and I highly recommend that you check it out. It has a great staff constantly working on updating it, and it has a really great community that you can interact with. It has loads of features, and it's pretty well optimized for percussionists as well, which is really amazing, as not a lot of softwares are able to do that, even ones you have to pay for. Up until a year ago, this was software that I was using, and it was great. I had nearly no problems with it, and it ran super well. The only problem that I really did have with it though was that the playback was a bit iffy at times. It didn't sound amazing, but then again, what can you expect? It is a free piece of software. For being a free piece of software, it does sound really great, but there's a lot more that could be given to us if you spend a little extra money. Overall, I highly recommend using this piece of software, okay? Especially if you're starting off and you're just trying to test it out and you don't want to spend a lot of money, this is definitely where you go. It costs nothing, and it has a lot of great features that I think you can take advantage of. I definitely recommend using Musescore, especially if you're just starting out writing music. Now, there are quite a few other desktop applications that do cost money, but they are quite expensive, and I don't really have the budget to test them all. The ones that I'm talking about here are mainly Notion and Dorico, both which I've heard great things about, but there were a few things that threw me off from them. The main thing being that they're not exactly optimized for percussion writing. They don't have the features and some of the compatibility with other plugins that I want to use inside of the software. Maybe one day they will be better optimized, and at that point then, I would recommend that you go do a little research on it. But until then, I have a few more pieces of software that I like to talk about. There's Finale and Sibelius, both of which are really great pieces of software. They have great compatibility with percussion writing, and they have had years to develop and grow as a software. The real question is, which one do you pick? In my opinion, I think that it's up to you. Both have some great features, but also some setbacks, and I think that depending on your writing style and your preference, I would just do some research on my own and figure out which one is the best fit for your writing style. For me, I think the Sibelius works really well, and it's the software that fits best with my writing style, so that's going to be the one that I'm going to mainly talk about in this video. It's a really solid piece of software, but like anything else, it has its flaws. With Sibelius, it's mainly its design. It's not exactly the most user-friendly, and it's kind of hard to get the hang of. Besides all that though, Sibelius is still a great software. Once you get the hang of it, it has some great features you can take advantage of and that make life a lot easier that other softwares don't really have. With Percussion, it's really well optimized, especially with the one plugin that I like to use the most, which is called Virtual Drumline. Virtual Drumline is hands down the best piece of third-party software that you can use for getting really accurate drumline and pit sounds. It does come in at around $200 though, which is very expensive, but it definitely is worth it for what you're getting. The main downside of using a professional piece of notation software would have to be the price. Sibelius has 3 different versions. A free version, which is great for just testing things out, a light version for if you may be composing for smaller ensembles, and a full version which has everything it has to offer. Each of these have their own different subscription service where you can pay either yearly or monthly, and the full version also has an option where you can just buy it straight up for $60, which is very, very expensive. I'm not going to go and cover all the different costs of everything because that would take a very long time, but if you are interested, I will leave a link to Sibelius in the description for you to check out. To wrap this up, all you really need to get started writing music is a laptop and some free notation software. It's never been easier to get started writing music of your own. It doesn't have to be expensive, and it's pretty easy to access anything you need. If you don't have a laptop, then you can even go on your phone or tablet and download a free notation software app on those, which, yes, it is hard to use, but if you just want to get started, then that's definitely the way. No matter your situation, there's almost always a way to start writing music. So what are you waiting for? Go out there and make some amazing music. Well, that's the end of this video, so thank you guys for watching, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.